Well, if we look at the classical view on how biochemistry and how prokaryotes interact with sediment chemistry, we have this model where we actually assume that microorganisms they need direct access to both electron donor and electron acceptors, and this is an example of sulfide oxidation. Sulfide is produced in the anoxic part of the sediment by sulfide-reducing bacteria, and is transported by diffusion up to the oxidic zone, where another organism that can use oxygen can oxidize the sulfide, and in this way generate energy. On this slide here, you will see a typical profile where you have sulfide coming up from below, and it reaches the oxygen and is reduced right here where the two species meet. In many of our incubations, we can see a very peculiar phenomenon, namely that sulfide is actually removed far below the oxidic zone. There's no contact between sulfide and oxygen here. So apparently this classical scheme does not work in these incubations here. And you get a bit more wild if you start to play around with the oxygen. This is shown here in this figure here. This is a figure where we have recorded oxygen and sulfide during 60 hours, and every 6 hours we have changed the oxygen conditions. In the initial phase, we have a separation of oxygen and sulfide of about 15 millimeters. Then we turn off the oxygen here, and you can see immediately we see a response on the sulfide. Sulfides start to increase. When we turn on the oxygen again, sulfides start to decrease here. And this happens so fast that it cannot be explained by diffusion or any other known mechanism. And therefore, we actually come to the conclusion that there must be some kind of instant connection between the oxygen and the sulfide, and we propose this mechanism in which microorganisms, they form a kind of network where they actually can exchange electrons over long distance. And that means that bacteria that have access to the sulfide, they can oxidize this sulfide to sulfate, and the electrons they can send through a network to the organism that's it with access to oxygen, and the organisms can use this to reduce oxygen, and both organisms can generate energy. Now, this scheme here has tremendous implications for our understanding of how microbes interact and how elements are cycled in nature. And it's extremely fascinating, I think. You can take a completely black, smelly sediment where you only have sulfate reduction producing hydrogen sulfide. And then you can expose a very, very tiny bit of that to oxygen. And within a few weeks, the system has changed completely to this very, very complex system here. A lot of process is now going on. What happens is that we have sulfide that's oxidized to sulfate, and the electrons are passed through this network up to oxygen here, where it is reduced. The protons that are generated from this process here actually go and dissolve iron sulfide, which produces more hydrogen sulfide. And this way you can have a cycle running here until you have depleted this source of iron sulfide. Protons will also dissolve carbonate, and the calcium from that will diffuse up to the oxidic zone, where it will precipitate out as magnesium calcite. In the very, very initial phase of understanding what this actually means for microbiology and for biogeochemistry, we are looking for the identity of the organisms that are able to transmit electrons over distances that are 10,000 larger than a single bacteria. We are looking for a mechanism how this can occur, and we are actually right now searching for this process in nature. Until now, we have only been able to reproduce this in our laboratory, but we are convinced that it can be a very important process, for instance, during periods right after oxygen depletion.